Nvidia has officially unveiled their RTX 4060 series graphics cards, and just like we had anticipated, they're hot garbage. Unless you're completely dry out of alternatives, then I recommend staying away from these GPUs. Let's discuss that in this video. Hey, if you enjoy content like this, drop a like, make sure to subscribe, and smash that bell so you never miss another video. Hey, what is going on guys, Danny here, welcome back to the channel and I hope you've all been doing well. The new mainstream GPUs from Nvidia have been officially launched. They posted an article on their website which gives us information on features, specifications, pricing, and availability. We've known specs and pricing information for a while now and have gone over it multiple times on the channel, so I'm not going to waste time going over everything. There are other videos out there that cover that. What has been confirmed is that the 8GB 4060 Ti will launch with an MSRP of $399 and will hit store shelves on the 24th of May. Then sometime in July there will be a 16GB version for a whopping $499 and also the 4060 non-Ti for $299. What I mainly wanted to talk about was their marketing and the way Nvidia has positioned these cards, because I'll be honest, Nvidia have a very clever way of putting on a show for the masses, and some of the reactions I've seen online have been positive. Hence, it's something worth going over so that if you thought you were getting a substantial leap when it comes to a generation over generation improvement, you're going to be quite underwhelmed. One of the major discussions in their post was surrounding memory, and you just knew Nvidia couldn't gloss over this because of all the VRAM buzz that's been going around in the PC hardware community and what reviewers are showing and what game reviewers are showing. Over the past several months, we've seen new games and ports come to the PC which have shown even at 1080p, 8GB cards just aren't able to offer a high-end experience anymore. My position on this has been that for older cards, especially if you've got something like a GTX 1080 or even a 2060 Super, lowering settings to alleviate those VRAM issues should be expected. However, for a new GPU that costs $400, it shouldn't even have 8GB to begin with, and on top of that, the user shouldn't be expected to compromise on settings. Maxed or everything on Ultra is unreasonable, but I'm talking about if a mixture of high and ultra settings cannot be done properly with this card, then that is unacceptable. Though you do not have to worry about that because everyone's favorite DLSS 3 is here to save the day, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. Nvidia posted another page in extension to their launch article called A Deeper Look at VRAM on GeForce RTX 40 series graphics cards. I'll have links to both articles in the video description, but basically they start off talking about how a GPU's memory subsystem works and how Ada Lovelace, which is the architecture the 40 series are powered by, handles memory calls. One of the major selling points is cache. On Ada Lovelace, they have drastically increased the amount of L2 cache that the GPU has access to. On the 3060 Ti, it was only 4 megabytes, whereas on the 4060 Ti, it has 32 megabytes, so that's 8 times more. They go on to explain how the addition of the large pool of cache will greatly improve memory access efficiency, and that is true to an extent. However, once that cache is overloaded, which can happen quite quickly with larger and high-res textures games are implementing, and at higher resolutions, then it has to fall back on that VRAM and the high bandwidth advantage is eliminated. This is proved in a video Hardware Unboxed posted a while ago showcasing the 4070 Ti against the 10GB RTX 3080. While faster on average, the gap started to close at 4K since the extra cache's benefits were diminished at the higher resolution and the game becomes more reliant on the hardware's memory buffer. And Nvidia knows this better than anyone. If it were really as substantial as they are making it out to be, then they would not be marketing this card, a $400 GPU in 2023, as a 1080p gaming card. Along with that, they would not have release that 16GB version if they were truly confident. But this is how they get you, man. They have you at both ends there. On one end, they're saying, you know what, VRAM doesn't matter, you're fine with our $400 4060 Ti. Or for those who are spooked, they will still get them because they'll upsell themselves to that 16GB model. Either way, they're winning. This whole article here is basically a nothing burger. To me, it seems like it's damage control because they just don't want people to realize they're getting screwed over. If you know how to read in between the lines, it becomes obvious that this was another strategy for them to increase their margins. Higher capacity chips cost more to make, so a balance is required to optimize prices. Except we've had 8GB cards sell for less than $200 more than 7 years ago. It's a clever way for Nvidia to hide their indulging of shrinkflation, if you ask me. Moving on to performance, and I gotta say, when Nvidia's own in-house benchmarks look so underwhelming, you know that the release is gonna be quite an amusement. In this general graph, we can see that the improvement of the 4060 Ti over the 3060 Ti is just 15%, That is without DLSS 3. But with the ability to fake some frames in, you're looking at a whopping 1.7x improvement. You just gotta truly believe that FPS number in the corner. And I know I'm sounding like I'm crapping all over DLSS 3, but it does have its place and can be beneficial in certain circumstances. I personally think for single player games, it's actually quite a nice feature. I wouldn't use it in competitive FPS though. Where I have an issue is when manufacturers and even developers are using DLSS 3 as a substitute for actual real substantial performance increases or proper optimization. Had the 4060 Ti been offering a 40 to 50% jump or even a 35% jump if we're to be generous at the same price, I don't think many people would have cared, but it's the fact that they're positioning it as being a setting most users are turning on by default, which is not likely. However, something I did want to bring to your guys' attention was recently with Jedi Survivor. I'm sure you guys saw most of the backlash EA got, but if you hadn't, the game was a mess on launch, and I think still has quite a few issues to this day. Performance overall was terrible, and the amount of people I saw that were blaming and pointing the finger at AMD was quite eye-opening. Since AMD sponsored the title, there were no Nvidia exclusive technologies available like DLSS or frame generation. Now that the DSK is open for DLSS, some modders were able to mod it into the game, and DLSS 3 did help alleviate those poor performance issues and provide the player with a more smoother experience. It finally made it a playable game. Therefore, this caused a lot of users to look at AMD in a bad way. If this was an Nvidia sponsored title, then it wouldn't have had bad performance because of DLSS. So you guys can see what I'm talking about here. This is Nvidia's marketing at play. To compensate for bad performance, they can just shove DLSS 3 in there and all of a sudden, most of the underlying issues go away, rather than focusing on the real issue at hand, which is the game was terribly optimized. It's the same thing Nvidia is doing to oversell their generational uplift. DLSS 3 and frame generation shouldn't be the answer to poor optimization or negligible performance upgrades gen on gen, yet prices keep going up. It's horrible. Now, since we're on the topic of performance, Nvidia is claiming a 15% uplift in their own benchmarks. Using a site like Tech PowerUp, who have a benchmark database, we can see that a GPU that sits at around that 15% mark over the 3060 Ti is the 3070. So just like we all had been expecting these past few months, you're basically getting a 3070 for $100 less, or you're getting a 16GB 3070 for the same price like 2.5 years later. This is not even market stagnation. In my opinion, it is market regression. It just makes you wonder what's gonna happen next generation. Are we gonna be seeing 1080p cards sell for $600? In my book, these cards are DOA, but I can see people calling these a good deal, just like how a number of people praised the 4070 for being a $100 cheaper 3080 with DLSS 3. If you're in the market for a $500 card, don't get this 4060 Ti, get a 6800 XT. You'll get much better performance without the need for DLSS 3. Or if you're looking for a really good value card, 10GB 6700, or if you want a 16GB card, you can go for Intel's Arc A770. You have alternatives there, so there's some good news. Along with that, everything we just talked about can be applied to the 4060, maybe even worse, another card which has been shifted up and disguised as a higher end model. Let's not kid ourselves, a 107 die traditionally has always been the X50 class. This is a 4050 Ti, which shouldn't be more than $200, but is being upsold to you with the same DLSS nonsense as before. I don't have to prove this to you guys. Nvidia's own benchmarks show how insignificant this card is going to be over the outgoing 3060 without DLSS 3. It's a joke. So all in all, these X60 class cards are not it. They're not going to get the mainstream crowd excited. The only reason why X60 class cards have been dominating the market and showing high placements in the Steam charts is because when you single-handedly control the market and consumers have no other choice, then you can set up whatever price you want. That's it. Not buying graphics cards, I'm afraid, isn't going to help lower prices, and you can check out my last video if you want to learn more as to why that is. All that's left now is for AMD to comfortably come in and release their RX 7600 at $349, a perfect spot that Nvidia has left open for them, because that's what's been going on these past few generations. If you guys found this video to be informative and entertaining, then leave a like. Let me know your thoughts and comments down below. Be sure to check out the video description for cool links and ways to support the channel, such as using my Amazon affiliate link. And if you're interested in seeing more content like this, then consider subscribing. I'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.